One deal falling through used to feel like my whole career was collapsing. The call ended with a dull click, and I just sat there with the phone pressed to my ear a second longer than necessary, as if refusing to let go might change the outcome. My client's voice had been polite, almost apologetic. "We've decided to go with another agent, but thank you for your time." Kind words on the surface, but all I heard underneath was the verdict: you failed. You weren't enough. When I finally lowered the phone, I didn't want to see its glowing screen. I flipped it face down on the desk, bearing its black glass like a body under a sheet. The silence that followed was suffocating. No incoming buzz of opportunity, no friendly chime of connection, just the thick, airless weight of rejection settling in. I stared at the desk for a long moment. The grain of the wood blurred under my eyes. My body felt heavy, too heavy, as if gravity had doubled its pull just for me. Beside the phone lay the contract, crumpled, bent, abandoned after negotiations unraveled earlier. Its once crisp pages now sagged in defeated folds, as if the paper itself had given up. I had tossed it aside in frustration, and now it mocked me with its uselessness. The office around me was unnervingly quiet. The fluorescent light overhead buzzed faintly, but there were no footsteps in the hall, no colleagues' laughter spilling through thin walls, no voices to distract me, just the hollow quiet of a room emptied of possibility. My breath came shallow enough to feel like I wasn't even breathing at all. My shoulders curled inward, my head sank. I folded into myself, as if the loss was too much for my body to carry upright. Hopelessness seeped through me, thick and unmoving. It sat heavy in my stomach, dragged down my chest, pressed at the back of my eyes. The thought arrived sharp and certain. This is it. This setback defines me. This one loss wipes away everything I've built. I didn't move, because moving meant facing the truth I was terrified of. That maybe one failure was enough to erase my entire place here. That's the thing about silence after a collapse. It doesn't feel neutral. It feels like judgment. The room itself seemed to whisper, "You're finished. This is who you are now." And for too long, I believed it. I let setbacks define me, like they were proof I wasn't cut out for this. It wasn't just this one deal. It was every deal before it, every stumble, every collapse. My mind stacked them together like bricks in a wall, each one reinforcing the story that I wasn't good enough. One setback became all setbacks. One no became proof of endless rejection. One loss felt like erasure of every win. Do you do this too? Do you spiral after one bad day, replaying it until it overshadows every good one? Do you convince yourself that setbacks erase your progress as if the stumble cancels every step you've already taken? That's the cycle I know too well. I remember the first time I failed a math test in school. The teacher told me, "It's just one grade. You'll recover." But I couldn't. I carried that shame around like a scarlet letter, convinced that one mistake had unmasked me. That memory embedded itself deep. A single stumble wasn't just feedback, it was identity. Later, in my first job, I stood in front of a small group giving a presentation. Halfway through, I lost my place, stumbled on my words. My boss was kind, telling me to shake it off. Everyone else forgot about it by lunch, but I didn't. I replayed it over and over in my head for weeks, convincing myself I wasn't cut out for leadership. That one mistake defined me permanently. So when I stepped into real estate, the script was already written. Every deal became a test of identity. If it closed, I could breathe. For a moment. If it collapsed, I spiraled. That's why this phone call today felt like more than a lost deal. It felt like a verdict on me as a person. The truth is, the stakes always feel high in this business. These aren't just numbers on paper. They're people's lives. Families trusting me with their futures. Clients putting their dreams in my hands. When a deal collapses, it doesn't feel like business. It feels like betrayal. It feels personal. And once that thought takes hold, it spreads like ink in water. I start hearing new voices in my head. This proves you're not capable. This proves you'll never catch up. This proves you should quit before you embarrass yourself further. It's astonishing how quickly one setback multiplies into a whole identity. It becomes not just about this deal, but about all deals, all clients, all of me. The crumpled contract on my desk stared back at me as proof. Its bent corners looked like curled fingers pointing at me. You blew it. You're not enough. I lowered my head into my arms. The silence roared in my ears. My breath felt too small to fill me. The thought loop hammered against my ribs. This setback defines me. This setback defines me. This setback defines me. But here's the paradox. Even a wave that crashes isn't lost forever. It returns to the ocean, gathers strength, and rises again. I didn't know how to believe that yet, but somewhere beneath the roar, I felt the flicker of a truth waiting to rise. The office felt colder once the call ended, though the thermostat hadn't moved. My body read the silence as punishment, a verdict written in the still air. I tried to keep working. I reached for another file, opened another email, but my hands wouldn't cooperate. They shook slightly, the pen slipping from my fingers, landing on the desk with a dull clatter. Even that small sound felt too loud in the empty room. I buried my head in my arms, pressing my forehead against the crook of my elbow. The world shrank to the narrow space between me and the desk. I could smell the faint chemical tang of the wood polish, sharp and sterile. My chest tightened as if a band had wrapped around my ribs. The contract sat just inches away, still crumpled, its edges curled upward, catching the overhead light like jagged cliffs. Every time I lifted my eyes, it reminded me, failure, failure, failure. The thought loop began in earnest. It's over. I'm done. This one collapse proves I can't make it. If I can't hold this deal, how will I hold any others? If I lose one client, won't I lose them all? The silence of the office seemed to echo back my fears. Even the walls felt complicit, reflecting my voice back at me. I thought about my colleagues, the ones who always bounced back quickly, the ones who seemed to shrug off bad days with ease. I imagined them closing their laptops at the end of the day, heading out to dinner, laughing with friends, their setbacks nothing more than small anecdotes. Why couldn't I be like that? Why did one no feel like the end of the world? I clenched my fists, nails biting into my palms. Shame prickled under my skin. I felt exposed, though no one else was in the room. And then came the lowest thought, the one that always stalks me after a collapse. Maybe I should quit. Maybe I was never meant for this. I hated myself for thinking about it, but I couldn't stop. The image of walking away played in my mind like a film reel. Cleaning out my desk, handing over my badge, leaving the building quietly while no one noticed. For a few minutes, I almost convinced myself it would be a relief to stop trying, to stop failing, to stop being defined by my collapses. That was the bottom, the point where I couldn't see a way forward, only the dim echo of an ending. But endings have a way of shifting when you least expect it. That evening, unable to sit in the silence any longer, I left the office and walked without a destination. My feet carried me toward the waterfront, where the city gave way to the rhythm of the sea. The sky was bruised with twilight, streaks of orange fading into blue. The air smelled of salt, damp and alive, and then I heard it, the sound of waves breaking against the shore. I stopped, watched, listened. One wave rose high, cresting with foam, then crashed hard against the rocks. The spray leapt into the air, then fell. The water broke apart. For a moment, it looked like the wave was gone, finished, erased. But then, almost seamlessly, the ocean drew it back in, gathered it, carried it, and before long, another wave rose again, different, but born from the same water, stronger in its return. I stood there, mesmerized. It struck me all at once. I am not the setback. I am not the crash. I am not the one deal that fell apart. I am the ocean. I rise stronger each time. I whispered it at first, testing the words as if they might dissolve on my tongue. I rise stronger each time. I thought of the presentation I once botched, and how, weeks later, I gave another one. Clearer, more grounded, informed by the mistake. I rose, stronger. I thought of the clients I lost early in my career, and how I learned to listen more carefully, to prepare more thoroughly. I rose stronger. I thought of this deal today, painful, disappointing, sharp in its sting, and I realized, even here, there are lessons. Even here, there is resilience waiting. Even here, I am not finished. I said the mantra again. Steadier now. I rise, stronger, each time. The words began to feel like a promise instead of a plea. My shoulders straightened. My breath deepened. My chest expanded with air I hadn't been able to draw all afternoon. The tide surged again, another wave climbing, cresting, crashing, reforming, and I saw myself in it. Not the crash, not the collapse, but the return. This is who I am, not the failure, but the rising. I said it a third time, strong enough to carry against the sound of the sea. I rise, stronger each time. And for the first time since the phone call, I believed it. That night, I sat at my desk again. The same desk that had felt like a coffin earlier in the day. The phone was still there, face down, as if hiding. The contract was still crumpled in the corner. But I was different. I had walked by the sea. I had seen the waves, and something in me knew I could rise. Still, knowing doesn't mean the fear goes away instantly. Setbacks have a way of sneaking back in, whispering in the dark. So I needed something more than insight. I needed a practice, a way to anchor myself, when the spiral begins. I open my notebook, fresh page. The blankness stared back at me, daring me to fill it. For a second, I felt that old hesitation. What if I write the wrong thing? What if it's useless? But then I remembered, setbacks are not endings. They are invitations. So, at the top of the page, I wrote, Bounce Back Plan. The rule was simple. After a disappointment, I would write down 3 small next steps. Nothing heroic, nothing dramatic, just 3 concrete actions that kept me moving forward. I wrote the first one. Follow up with 2 new leads tomorrow. Not a miracle, just a step. Then the second, review the presentation deck and adjust the weak points. Not punishment, not blame, just learning. And finally, the third, take a walk again tomorrow evening. Remind myself I can breathe. 3 steps, simple, doable, and suddenly, the weight on my chest felt lighter, as if my body understood. I'm not stuck. I'm not erased. I can move forward. I pressed my palm flat against the page, feeling the texture of the paper under my skin. Proof that I had made a mark. Proof that the future wasn't gone. It was waiting. I whispered my affirmation as I closed the notebook. Setbacks build me. And as I said it, I felt the ground beneath my chair, the solid floor supporting me. The reassurance came quiet but steady. Every setback is proof I can rise again. That night, for the first time in days, I slept deeply. You're built to recover. That's what I remind myself now when I feel the sting of loss. Not that I'll never fall, not that I'll never fail again, but that falling is never the final word. I used to think one setback erased everything. That one no meant I was finished. That one collapse proved I was worthless. But I see now, those moments were waves, and waves are never lost. They return, stronger, carrying the strength of the ocean itself. So tonight, I celebrate not the absence of setbacks, but the truth of recovery. I am not the deal that collapsed. I am not the silence that followed. I am not the crumpled contract on my desk. I am the ocean that keeps rising. I rise stronger each time. Tonight, I'm telling myself I rise stronger. Some nights, it's only a whisper. Other nights, I can say it steady. And when my chest is ready, I declare it bold. Every return makes me stronger than the fall. As I sit here, I picture a lighthouse beam sweeping across the dark. Steady, rhythmic, unshaken by storms. That's what resilience feels like to me. A light that keeps turning, no matter how many times the sea crashes below. And as I end tonight, I leave you with this encouragement. You're built to recover. Don't let a single stumble convince you otherwise. Write your bounce back steps. Name your mantra. Trust the tide within you. Because every fall you've lived through has already proven the truth. You rise stronger. And as I carry that truth into tomorrow, I know there will still be whispers of perfection, still moments I forget that progress itself is enough. But that's the work, to rise again, every time. So here's my question for you. What's one way you've bounced back after a setback? Share it. Write it. Let someone else see that they too can rise. Because the world doesn't need us to be flawless. It needs us to be resilient. And resilience is who I am.